The experience from World War II, the Great Patriotic War, allowed Soviet engineers to make a huge breakthrough in armored vehicle creation. The legendary T-34 tanks were quickly becoming obsolete, and rushed modifications, such as the T-34-85, could only temporarily postpone the need to create a new medium tank model. Thus, in the hellfire of the ongoing war, the T-44 was born. This vehicle became the starting point for a brand new generation of tanks. For all of its innovations, the T-44 embodied the ideas that Soviet engineers had so skillfully assembled in the T-54 and T-55 main battle tank series. The automatic nuclear defense system, one of the world's first, on the T-55 made it clear that the vehicle was equipped for any battle. The tank was so successful that it's hard to find a conflict in recent history in which the T-55 did not take part. Its various modifications, as well as the vehicles descended from it, are still used in many countries. But it wasn't just the equipment of the T-55 that was notable. It also had an impressive potential for modernization that its predecessors lacked. By 1983, the Т-55АМ-1 model could already boast of significantly reinforced armor, an improved engine, and even a guided weapons system. In War Thunder, the Т-55АМ-1 can be found in the Soviet premium vehicle tree. This modification can be easily distinguished from the standard Т-55А vehicle by the extra armor and the presence of the laser rangefinder over the gun. The tank's best asset, its primary weapon, the D-10T2S 100mm gun with an armor complement of 42 rounds, hasn't gone anywhere either. The assortment of available shells is so vast that we could spend the better part of a video listening all of them. Just know that you have all kind of high-tech armor-piercing shells at your disposal, and if that's not enough, the Т-55АМ-1's arsenal includes another contemporary development of that time, the ATGM-9M117. For lightly armored targets, the cockpit with a gun also has a 762mm PKT and a formidable 300 rounds 12.7mm DSHK on the commander's cupola. The armor is not too bad either. The frontal hull, as well as the upper and lower frontal parts, are covered in 100mm armor at 60 and 55-degree angles, respectively. On top of its own armor, it has a composite plate of 30mm rolled homogeneous armor and 120mm metal polymer filler. This layer cake is also placed at a 60-degree angle. The turret has a differentiated steel thickness beginning at 200mm on the front and gun mantle, and at the rear 66mm. It also underwent additional reinforcement. To the left and right of the gun, there are complex pieces of mixed armor elements, 65mm of rolled homogeneous armor and 200mm of metal polymer filler on the upper part, with 85mm and 200mm respectively on the lower part. In basic terms, these elements are called Brezhnev's eyebrows because of the rather similar appearance to the famous sauce. That's the front. Now on the finer points. Like all other Soviet medium tanks, the side projection on the Т-55АМ-1 does not look good enough. The lower section of the side is only 20mm, and in the upper portion, this figure grows to a rather respectable 80mm. The vehicle's sides are also covered with 8mm side skirts made of rubber fabric. The rear has 45mm of armor. In the regard, the roof of the turret and hulls are mere sheets of paper at 30mm and are vulnerable to high explosive shells and aerial attacks. Overall, you can rely on this tank even with a few hit rounds to the front. However, during combat at its battle rating, the enemy will most typically fire powerful APCR shells, before which even the thick-skinned Т-55АМ-1 often quails. Therefore, while relying on its enhanced armor, don't forget about the folds of the terrain and proper positioning. The superior V46.5M diesel engine became more of a necessity than nice perk. The tank's 690 horsepower engine accelerates this heavy vehicle to a respectable 50 km/h, which is a decent figure amongst its counterparts if there is no mud under its tracks. In reverse, this tank is in no rush at 7 km/h in true Soviet style. Overall, though, its mobility won't restrict your activity on the battlefield. The crew consists of 4 members. A lone driver sits in the hull, while the gunner, commander and loader sits tightly together in the turret, and the enemy knows it when aiming at your silhouette. In War Thunder, the T-55АМ-1 is well suited for the role of your main strike force, since this vehicle has no critical flaws, but keep in mind that for all its killing firepower, the gun cannot boast the rate of fire and is inferior to its peers at the same rank, as its turret can rotate a mere 12.8 degrees per second. Therefore, each shot should be well planned and accurate. However, its extraordinary reach range of ammunition will allow you to select the required argument for any enemy encounter. If you prefer battling at a distance, then this tank will perform best when using the ATGM-9M117 or at least an APCR shell, for which we highly recommend using the laser rangefinder. What else is there to remember? Helicopters with anti-tank rockets hovering over the battle zone pose a serious threat. Using that ATGM-9M117 with its 5-kilometer range will help you quickly land those flying bests. As a vehicle with no critical flaws, the T-55АМ-1 will come in handy for any player. The fact that this is a premium tank will help unlock more powerful and sophisticated vehicles in the USSR tech tree more quickly. You can find more detailed information about the T-55АМ-1 in the War Thunder Wiki.
А пока желаю всем вам здоровья, счастья, мирной и радостной жизни.